Okay, so this is the lesson 624, part 2. We're learning to write the equations of perpendicular lines. In this problem, we want to find a line that passes through the point 1,8 and is perpendicular to the graph of y equals 2x plus 1. What equation represents that line in slope-intercept form? So we're going to find the slope of the given line, and that's easy. Just find it right there in the slope-intercept form. That's 2. And we want to think about what is the opposite reciprocal of that. So think about this, 2 over 1, flip that over, that's 1 over 2. So negative 1/2 would be the opposite reciprocal. Just to check that, we want to make sure negative 2 times negative 1/2 equals negative 1. And that's true. So negative 1/2 is good. Now we're going to use this point slope form to write the equation, because that's the quickest way to get an equation. And that is y minus some y value is equal to the slope times x minus some x value. And we can substitute for the slope, negative 1/2. We can put for our x value, that's this from this point, x value is 1, and the y value is 8. And we have an equation. Now, the direction said we want that in slope-intercept form. To get it in slope-intercept form, let's just use the distributive property here. Negative 1/2 times x is negative 1/2 x, and negative 1/2 times negative 1 is positive 1/2. And so we get that, and then to finish putting it into slope-intercept form, we're just going to add 8 to both sides, and we get y equals negative 1/2 x plus 8.5. And if you want, that makes pretty nice decimals that don't repeat, so we can just put negative 0.5x plus 8.5 as our equation. All right, so let's use this idea to solve a real-world problem. Carla is using a coordinate grid to make a map of her hometown. She plots Main Street as shown. If 3rd Street is perpendicular to Main Street at 5'7", what is an equation for 3rd Street? All right, so 3rd Street is perpendicular to Main Street, so what we need to know is, since this is on a coordinate grid, if we could find the slope of these lines, then that would help us. And as I'm looking at this line, I see points right there. We can just pick 2 of these points to find our slope. This point right here is 0, 8, that's a good one. And this next point is 5, 7. Now to find the slope, we're just going to subtract the y values and then subtract the x values. And divide those. Make sure to subtract them in the correct order. So 0 minus 5. And that's 1 over negative 5, which is negative 1/5. Okay? If Main Street is perpendicular to that point, then Main Street needs to be, let's flip 1/5 over, and that's 5 over 1, which is just 5. And one of these needs to be positive, one negative. Since Main Street is already negative, then we know this is positive. And so the slope we want is 5. Now let's just use point slope form. This one doesn't say what form we need to put this in. We just need an equation. And we want it to go through the point 5'7". So from that point, I'm going to put 7 for my y value. I'm going to put 5 for my slope. And I'm going to put 5 for my x value. And there's my equation. Now, if it needed to be in slope-intercept form, that wouldn't be a big deal. You can just distribute the 5, add 7 to both sides, and you get y equals 5x. Negative 25 plus 7 is minus 18. Some math books will always want you to simplify the slope-intercept form. All right, so let's try one more problem here. I recommend you pause it and try and figure it out yourself. Check back for the answer. All right, you probably wanted to use these 2 points because those seem like pretty easy points to use. And if I use those, that gives us the point 12, 0, and 0.08. So I'm going to do 8 minus 0 here, and then 0 minus 12 here, and that's 8 over 12. Negative 12, which is negative, I'm going to leave that as a fraction, simplified, negative 2/3. In order for the new beam to be parallel to the existing beam, their slopes would be opposite reciprocals. So we need the slope of this new beam to be, let's flip over negative 2/3, that's 3 over 2. And if you want, you can change that to decimal. So we want that, and we want it to go through this point right here, 0, 10. Well, that point is the y-intercept. So I'm just going to use slope-intercept form here, which is this, and I'm going to substitute for the slope 1.5, and for the intercept, I'm going to put 10. So there's your equation. All right, that's going to be it for this lesson, and I'll see you tomorrow.